Joe, I'm old. I mean, no, really old. We're talking decrepit and shit. But not that long ago, I was young. Really, not that long ago. Young and, let's face it, stupid. In other words, I was in love. And when you're young and in love, you do stuff like talk about each other's hopes and dreams. Joe, we're gonna call him Joe today, Joe loved to talk about his dreams, because that way he didn't have to listen to me talk about mine. Joe always wanted to be an oceanographer, but he'd never gotten beyond watching Shark Week. So for Joe's birthday, I decided to make his dream a reality. I signed him up for scuba diving lessons. And since this was going to be an important step in our future together, I signed myself up as well. The scuba certification is in 3 stages. We passed the written test, no problem. And then we had to go to this pool in Manassas, and that's when I got a little nervous. Not only because I had to go to Manassas, but also because I can't swim. I never learned how. But it turns out you only have to do 4 laps in an Olympic-sized pool. Easy, right? Joe, fish boy, passed right away. And then he rolled his eyes as I slowly and strenuously doggy paddled my way to finally passing. We flew down to Florida for the final stage, open water. It was when we got to our hotel that I noticed the water. It was everywhere. And you see, I'm actually kind of terrified of water. I mean, I took a shower this morning. I can handle a jacuzzi just fine, but open water, the kind you can't see the end of, that's another story. See, I grew up at the shore, and for those of you not from New Jersey or who have somehow avoided seeing that awful TV show shot in my hometown, that's the beach. And one of my earliest memories growing up at the beach is of my mother warning me about this monster called the undertow. Now, at first I thought she was teasing me, and then I went in the water, got sucked under, and the undertow tried to drag me out to Mexico. Next summer, same thing happened. By the time I was 10, I learned you do not go in over your ankles if you want to live. So I told Joe about the undertow and how I didn't think it was a good idea for me to go in over my ankles after all. I thought he'd be sympathetic because I had gotten him this awesome birthday present, but he didn't respond so well. Why do you always have to ruin everything for me? Did I mention he was a bit of a whiner? You know I have to dive with a buddy. What am I supposed to do now? I couldn't exactly argue with his logic, and I didn't want to ruin his birthday present because it had cost me a fortune. So I agreed to go through with it. I got on the boat dive morning. We set out into the middle of the ocean. Nobody else seemed to have a problem with this. And then I remembered the other reason I haven't gone on a boat in 20 years. I get seasick really easily. The instructor said, focus on the horizon. Just find a spot that's not moving and keep watching it. Of course, everything was moving. Even when we dropped anchor, the boat kept swaying back and forth. We geared up and I staggered to the back of the boat, trying to be the first one in the water. I figured if I could just get off the boat and stop swaying, I would feel less sick. It was good because the lurching feeling in my stomach distracted me from the fact that I was gonna die when I got dragged out to Mexico. Once in the water, I quickly realized a few things. First of all, the swaying doesn't stop off the boat. Secondly, you can no longer focus on the horizon because now the waves are over your head and you are in way over your ankles and there is no place to put your feet down. So I did the only thing that made sense. I panicked. I flipped out. I started doggy paddling like a fiend, trying to get back on the boat. Thankfully, Joe didn't see me in my moment of weakness as he was already descending, but the instructor grabbed me by the tank and turned me around. Are you okay? Think of Joe. This is for him. Pull it together. Are you okay? I started to nod my head yes, but then decided to be absolutely clear and vomit instead. We watched my vomit get dragged out to Mexico, and then the instructor repeated, okay? I said, yes. He said, it will be calmer below. I said, great. And then he smiled warmly at me and left me with, and if you have to throw up while we're down there, make sure you blow it through your mouthpiece or you'll run out of air. So I decided it would be a good idea to rinse my mouth out, kind of cleanse the palate before I went under, which is not exactly the smartest thing to do if you've just jumped off the back of a motorboat, because oil has a way of sticking around. So yeah, the oil made me throw up again. And if you think watching your vomit wash out to Mexico twice in one day is cool, you have got to try scuba diving with vomit and oil in your mouth. There is nothing quite like every breath you take being flavored by oily chunks. But you know, I did it. I got certified that day, and yeah, I did spend the rest of the vacation crying and nauseous, and yes, it was traumatic. But I did it for love. And Joe appreciated it so much, he didn't even put up a fight when I dumped his ass. Now, I am older, and some would say wiser. Other dickheads would just say fatter, but I am going to go with wiser. And I have learned a few things over the years.
Love your boobs!
Thank you. I have learned how to swim, for example, or how much Dramamine you need to take in order to survive a boat ride. And I have learned that love and alcohol are very similar. Both fantastic, up to a point. But when you've had a little bit too much of either, you start doing stupid shit and you are bound to end up blowing chunks. Now, I have definitely learned to hold my alcohol, you'll all be happy to know. I am still trying to find out if I've learned my limits when it comes to love.